Alright, here's the ins and outs of learning how to play piano. If you've never played a piano before or a keyboard or anything like this, don't worry about it. I'll walk you through the steps. I'll go through like a beginner and then an intermediate and then advanced. Alright, the first thing you need to know about the piano is that even though it looks like it's all the same, there's actually two sides to it. There's one side here and another side here, approximately. So all that really means is that for your left hand, this is the area for your left hand, and for your right hand, this is the area. And each of your hands play a different role. Your left hand is used for maintaining like a beat, so you'd have a rhythm going with your left hand. And the right hand is used for anything other than a rhythm. So it would, I guess you could do a rhythm too. So it'd be like. So what you're going to be doing with the right hand is freestyling. But what you'll be doing with the left hand is maintaining the same. Alright, so another thing you need to know is that there's 8 keys. Someone long ago figured or decided that it's going to start from here to here, but you can play whichever. So one cool way to see it is if you notice these black keys, don't worry about the black keys if you're a beginner. If anything, you can use the black keys as a reference point. So you can see there's 3 here, then there's 2 here, then there's 3 here, there's 2 here. So remember how I said that these 8, this is the same as this, which is the same as this, which is the same as this. So why that is, there's a whole history to that. We're not going to get into that. We're here to just play as soon as possible and to really enjoy playing as soon as possible as well. So if you're having a good time, then usually the audience is going to have a good time too. Alright, so if you're a beginner, one simple thing you can do is locate the 2. See, there's a 3 and a 2. Generally, the first one on your left hand, whatever is comfortable, if your hand's here, if your hand's here, whatever your placement is, just find the 2, and then what you can do is, like right between the 2, the white right here, you can play this. So an interesting thing that people figured out a long time ago is that this thing is not just the same as this, but if you play these together, they sound nice. And then if you play these 2 together, that also kind of sounds nice. So you can actually do these 3, you can do 4 of these too. So you can play around with whatever the keys are. You can try the other formations, but it doesn't, see how it doesn't sound as nice. So if you do this, that doesn't sound as nice as. So who figured it out? I don't know, but it's just how it sounds to the human ear. So remember how I said earlier that this is the same as this? Well, this is the same as this. One sec. Another good lesson is make sure you have blood circulation while you're playing. You don't want blood to not be going up your veins. That's like, it's impairment. Why would you handicap yourself? If you're in front of a piano or if you have something like a keyboard, like this is actually called a synth. So it's technically not a piano. Like people call it a keyboard as well. But this is technically a synthesizer because it has a bunch of different instruments. So whatever your instrument is, if it has white keys and black keys, then it follows the same rules. So if you have an organ, technically you can also do the same thing with it. So let's identify something between the 3s and the 2s. Let's do the 2s. There's a white key right between the 2s. Let's play this one. And there's also another 2 here. Let's play the white keys here. So if you can do this, that's great. If you can't, then you can check for the 3s right here. Basically 1, 2, 3, and the next one. So you can either go all 8 or you can go like this if you can't reach this. So again, hell, you can do 2 too. You can do these 3. So whichever your preference. You know what? I'll do these 3 just because it's very straightforward. Anyone can do this. So same thing. Find the 3s and the 2s just because it's in the middle. Same thing in the middle. And then just how it's 2 like that, you can do the same thing right here. So once you get your hands right that, just go like. Alright, see how it sounds like there's a lot of keys playing? So maybe you can tune it. Instead of playing all 6, you can try maybe get rid of the middle fingers and just go. Now another interesting thing you can do if you want it to actually sound nice is you have to kind of play around with it. It's not enough to just be in that one spot. You kind of have to move around. Now the interesting thing is you can leave this here and then you can kind of move this this hand around. So remember how earlier I said this hand is the freestyle hand and this one's the rhythm? That's exactly what's going to go on here. So let's get the rhythm first. And then let's introduce the freestyle hand. Alright, so that's the very gist of it. So as a beginner, this is where you want to start because you'll start to make tunes that you'll actually start to enjoy, and this is from someone who's never played a piano or any instrument like that ever before. Alright, so as an intermediate, the whole thing is, what you'll realize is once you play a bit of piano for a while, like maybe a few years, you'll realize very quickly is that it'll sound nice if you're following the same tempo like I was doing with. But it's way nicer if this hand follows a different rhythm. Just like freestyle, you don't want the freestyle to be the same as the rhythm. So if you're playing something like, see how this one is playing multiple things? So it could also be like, you basically have to get to a point where you're ambidextrous. There's a chart, I don't know, it's somewhere on the internet, but it explains really well how all skills kind of develop. At first, it takes actual effort to get the hands on things. So as I was explaining in the beginner, it takes an actual effort to know where the 8 keys are. But once you get used to that, then the next step, and I think it's a very crucial step to transfer from beginner to intermediate, is that you know that the tempos are different and you can play around with the different tempos. So going back to that example, let's go with a simple rhythm here. Let's go with, so this hand has to be completely different than this hand. And the only way to do it is just through practice. This is like the gym part of piano. So you can just mess around with your keyboard or piano and see if you enjoy it. And if you do enjoy it, then this is the kind of next step that you kind of want to have an eye out for, because once you get this part down, you're going to be wowing crowds left, right, center. Everything just sounds so much nicer once you have a different tempo here and a different tempo here. So let me give you an example right here. Let's play with a simple chord. See how this one's tempo is different? It's doing other things, and this one's just doing the bum 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 bum. Alright, so once you get the tempo down, it's very important. See, here's the thing, like it sounds smooth here, but the amount of mistakes you're going to go through is insane. So the intermediate stage is like the grueling part of it, because you'll be seeing people who figured this part out, and they'll be playing it flawlessly or smoothly, and you'll be like, what the hell? How the hell is this person playing one tempo on this hand and another on this? But it's literally just enough practice. Once you kind of figure out the landscape, the way I like to explain it is you want to use the rhythm first and then build whatever the freestyle is. So let's build the rhythm first. Let's do the left side first. All right, so using the same example. So using the same example right here, different tempos. Alright, so what just happened there? Basically, I played a different tempo on the right hand and a different tempo on the left hand, but the smoother the transition was to do that, the better it sounds. That's literally the whole intermediate stage, where you kind of get to a point where you're consciously doing it, and then at a certain point you'll have moments where you're unconsciously doing it, and that's where I think all the beauty starts. Alright, so finally, advanced. If you're at a point where you know all of this and you're like, okay, this is so boring, and you've been skipping the whole video, this is the main 100% key lesson that I've learned from anyone who's been a master at any skill, and that's enjoying it. There's only one step for the advanced step, which is that everything that you learned mechanically, you have to slowly learn to let go of it. Because all those things now you have to become subconscious. Once you get to a point where you're doing everything that I mentioned at a subconscious level, where you're constantly building the rhythm first and then the tempo second, where you're able to also keep up different tempos with different hands, so slightly ambidextrous. I mean, anyone can learn this stuff. When I started, like, how crazy, I started in my 20s. People start when they're 6 years old, but then they burn out by the time they're 11. And I think what happens is because their parents push them for it. So if this is something that you enjoy doing, then you should 100% go for it. What it is it's kind of figuring out a rhythm and just jamming to whatever the hell is actually on your mind. So to me, freestyle is the best way to play any instrument. So how do you summarize that into a lesson where we can actually apply it? So what you have to do is ask yourself, are you feeling the music? All right, so what's an example of feeling the music? One sec, let me just change the instrument real quick. Let's play my favorite instrument actually. And remember, you're playing from the heart, but you're still following the same process. So you start with the rhythm first, and then you freestyle. Oh, jeez. All right, so what just happened there? There was a moment initially where it was starting to kind of build, but then I hit a kind of flow state. And this is such an interesting phenomenon because once you get to a point where you kind of understand the technicals of how to play a certain anything, it could be an instrument or it could be any skill set. Once you understand the skill set and you work towards it, there are certain things. I mean, people talk about this all the time. It's called a flow state. You can look it up on the internet, but essentially as an advanced person, what you need to do is get to a flow state. And once you get to a flow state, that's all you have to do. That's why presence work and things to do with, clearing the clutter in your mind. Muhammad Ali has a really, really great quote on this. It's not the mountains that you climb that'll wear you down. It's the pebble in your shoe. So at this stage especially, it's not about learning how to climb those mountains. It's about getting rid of all the pebbles in your shoe. So in conclusion, hope you learned a few things. All right, so just remember 1 to 1, the 8 keys, and then how the numbering system goes, it's irrelevant as long as you start enjoying the process. then you don't have to worry about anything else. Trust me, time flies once you start really getting into the intermediate stage, and you really start, hammering some piano skills out, and people are like, whoa, what the hell? You can play piano? That's not what you should even play for. The best feeling is knowing that you get better and better every day. It's kind of like skateboarding in that way, because the technicals, they're frustrating at first, but once you understand it, it's so beautiful what you can do with the skill sets, and you'll do things that you can't even imagine. So hope you pursue it. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to smash the subscribe button. It's going to be somewhere in the screen here. Yeah, so I'll see you in the next video. Peace.